All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Awakened Happiness Now Global Series. Thank you so much for being here with us. If you're new to me, new to my show, new to my channel on YouTube, please do subscribe so that you can take advantage of all the current shows, all the shows coming up in the future, all the previous shows. There's so much wisdom here for you. It is my deepest wish, desire, and intention to bring forward to you and for you these wonderful speakers who are sharing their teachings, their experiences, their activations, their processes, their wisdom, so that we can all thrive, so that we can all awaken to happiness now within, so that we can all really, really and truly create the lives that we desire with ease and grace. So today, my dear friend lorispagna is back with us, and we're going to be talking about living your soul's highest fulfillment according to your divine agenda. So this is going to be exciting. And some of what we're going to talk about today is how to live your soul's highest fulfillment, what your soul's divine agenda is and how to align with it, how to transform the inner roadblocks that have held you back, how to clear, heal, and resolve karmic residue, aka old wounds and traumas, how to raise your vibration and improve your energy, and why this is so important, how to develop and utilize your divine intuition and your intuitive gifts and talents, how to use higher consciousness to improve your life, how to become a conscious, deliberate co-creator, how to manifest with mastery, and of course, so much more. And if you don't know Lori, she's been with us many, many times. We love having her. It's always a high vibe. We always have so much fun. We always learn so much as well. There's so many ahas that come through. So Lori is a best-selling author, speaker, spiritual catalyst, intuitive multidimensional channel, mentor, animal communicator, energy healer, starseed, contactee, and visionary who has transformed the lives of thousands of humans and animals via her channeled ascension guidance, intuition, sacred energy healing, dormant DNA activations, divine transmissions, and animal communication. Lori also channels a group of non-physical beings called the Collective, which includes a collective group of ascended masters, divine goddesses, angels, teachers, loved ones, the Animal Kingdom collectives, star family races, interstellar beings, and others in the non-physical realms. Lori is the founder of the Sacred Visionary Mentorship for heart-centered, mission-driven visionaries and leaders who want to make a global impact, contribute to the expansion and upliftment of humanity, and live the life of their dreams and achieve their soul's highest fulfillment. So please join me in welcoming Lori back to the show. Lori, welcome.
Hello. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here with you. Love this community. So glad
I'm
to be
so
here.
glad you're back, and especially at this time. Oh my goodness, we were just talking briefly before we went live and about the energies that are happening right now, last week, coming up. There's a lot going on, but even when there's so much going on, Lori, we are always wanting to create our lives, right? Do what our soul's agenda is, follow our soul's agenda, live our soul's highest fulfillment, right? So regardless of what's going on, that is always our wish and desire and intention, right?
I mean, I think it is. I guess that's what people get to, choose. You get to choose. Hey, Sue, it's good to see you here. I want to ask for the people listening, I would love for you to put in the chat, how many of you feel like you are living in accordance with your soul's divine agenda?
Yes.
If
How
you are,
many of you feel that way?
put in a Y. Put in a Y. If you're not, put in an N. If you don't know, put in a question mark. Because this is what we're going to talk about today. You can put it in the chat.
Yeah.
Cindy
And,
says
I have
yes.
to say, normally, I think I'm normally a Y, so normally a yes, but then there are times when I'm definitely a question mark.
Yeah, I get it.
Right?
I wonder what people think it means. Cindy, especially. I wonder what Cindy, if you want to put in the chat. Susan says on her way. Yes, you definitely are. Pippa says definitely question mark. So that means to me, I appreciate Jolanta. Thank you for your question mark, being your honest. Because to me, if you're living your soul's highest agenda, you are deeply fulfilled and you feel deeply rewarded in pretty much every area of your life. And you feel excited and optimistic and enthusiastic about what life has. And overall, you wake up in the morning, overall, for the most part, with some kind of optimism or excitement or enthusiasm that you're looking forward. Do you guys feel that way? Getting closer?
Sometimes.
I mean, I appreciate that, honestly. Because I don't think that's something that most people are living. I think that a lot of people think they are, but I don't think that a lot of people really are. And the reason I say that is because I know that I've made a life study out of this, whether or not we are doing it. I guess it's not for me to know if someone else is, but I think if you are, you wake up pretty much every morning feeling deeply fulfilled and satisfied and excited and optimistic about your life and the direction of your life. And overall, it doesn't mean you stop striving, but overall, you feel very deeply in love with yourself. You feel rewarded in life. You feel like you are living your highest fulfillment. You definitely feel like aligned with what you would call your true mission, your true purpose. And you would definitely feel like you are really aligned with your own divine guides, your own source, your creator, your God, your relationship to the divine. And that feels like it's blossoming, growing, and cultivating through you. Because if you're living your highest fulfillment, that is part of it. That is part of your soul's highest agenda. That's part of everyone's highest agenda, to be living in accordance with their soul's true divine mission and purpose. So, I mean, I think that it's up to each individual to decide, but you definitely would be functioning from, getting into, even if you're not perfectly there, because I don't think anyone's perfectly there, I think you would be feeling like your physical health is, on track, your emotional health, your mental health feels good, or you're working on it. At least it doesn't mean that it's perfect. It means you're actively engaged in what it takes to put it in right alignment, so that it's not like you're like lost and confused. You're like, okay, I know what I'm doing and what I'm working on. And your career, your mission, your purpose, your vocation, from, vocational point of view, you would feel like I'm doing what I love to do, or at least I'm in the right alignment with a plan that has some kind of, I can see the trajectory. And then same thing with money. You might not have all the money you want or the materialistic possession, but you feel like rewarded and fulfilled, and that you're rightly aligned with the money coming, going, flowing. Your relationships would feel like, yeah, my relationships feel good. The relationships that I'm engaging in overall feel healthy dynamics in my relationships. And if they're not healthy, you would be saying, I'm really working on cultivating healthy relationships that feel right to me, rightly aligned. And that includes relationship to self, to source, and to others, and even to the world at large. Like, yeah, I'm not walking around getting pissed off and furious about the fake, phony BS false leaders on chronic negativity networks, like, major mass media. Or I'm not getting triggered by, and I mean, this is one of my challenges, because I get triggered by big pharma commercials pushing, you know, pill pushers pushing sickness and illness on us. Right? That's my trigger. I know it. I can't even listen to that stuff. So, you're working with that, whatever it is that may be triggering you or upsetting you or charging you, so that you can help yourself to not be triggered by those things in the external world, whatever they might be, because we all have different kinds of triggers. So we're working on that to kind of bring ourselves into a space of, like, what I would call divine neutrality, so that we don't get upset, irritated, or bothered by the external world and all the drama and the illusion, right? Because that's part of being in alignment with our highest fulfillment. Our highest fulfillment, we're not like easily upset or bothered just because something's out there that we don't necessarily like, agree with, or approve of, right? So these are some of the ways I define that. And yeah, Marianne said, learning to trust more. Love that, because that is you being real and authentic. Like, we are all learning to trust more, because we've lived in a world where we've learned that you cannot trust. And we're learning it even more when we look at these false leaders and fake authorities on the mass media claiming to care about humans when clearly they don't. Clearly, some of them stand up and say, all out war, let's just go. Like, clearly, these big pharma companies don't really care when all they're doing is pill pushing, right? I'm not saying there's not good stuff in there. I'm just saying. Like, we're learning how to trust in a world where it's been all about I, me, mine. And we in this community, we already get that. We all, if you're here, you get that, right? You're a visionary, you're a leader, or you're a person who at least really knows your heart centered and you care about creating a better world and you care about creating a better life for yourself, or else you wouldn't be here, right? We're more heart centered. It's not all about I, me, mine. It's about us, we, ours. But we're learning to trust in a reality where we get it. It's been I, me, mine, and I don't care who I step on to get to the top in that world. And it's been a lot of like, false, what's that? Instagram posts where you're supposed to look like, everything's pretty and perfect. And that's not the way it is. Like, why does that person constantly make it look like everything's perfect in their world when we know that's not the reality of this world? So we can get triggered by that. And yeah, we're learning how to trust. And we're learning along with that, how to trust ourselves, because we know we've made mistakes and we know we've had like missteps. And if we're, you're in this community again, because you're heart-centered, you're not perfect. You're trying to like love yourself and accept and acknowledge those parts of you that do have flaws, that aren't perfect all the time. And at the same time, striving to be the best version of self, striving to learn more, grow more, heal and resolve those things that maybe you're not always so proud of, or that have hurt you or triggered you, right? I mean, is everybody kind of on the same page here with this? Is everybody resonating with this? Does this make sense? Definitely. Hi, Carrie. I recognize you. Carrie said yes. And Vivian said, how do I manage my relationship with my soul being challenged by facing a divorce after 40 years of marriage? Linda said, absolutely. Okay, good. I'm glad this is resonating. And yeah, I mean, how do you? That's part of how you're managing that relationship. See, when you say, how do I manage that relationship with my soul after being challenged, facing after 40 years of marriage, that is like a self-trust thing, right? On some level, because like, when you say, how do I manage my relationship with my soul? The truth is, you and your soul are one, just like you and your higher self are one. It's just that your soul has different aspects and challenges and perspectives that the soul wants to integrate. And the higher self has different aspects and perspectives that wants to integrate with you too. So when you say, how do I manage my relationship with my soul? Part of that is healing the traumas. You're facing traumas, death, disease, divorce. Those are three of the biggest traumas one can face on earth. So the trauma of the divorce, 40 years of marriage. I'm so sorry, Vivian, because that's hard. That's big stuff. So when you say, how do I manage that? I mean, you want to get support for yourself. You want to get working with a healer or a coach, a mentor, someone you can trust, a counselor, to be there for you, because you're basically facing major trauma. And anybody going through a divorce after 40 years would be facing major trauma. That's a big deal. Whether there's been betrayal, abandonment, whatever those issues are, and you're going to have to learn how to, just like Marianne was saying, a new kind of self-trust. And self-trust is developed over time through self-care, self-nurturing. So these are some of the things you're going to be having to address in this new phase of your life, Vivian. And these are the things we're all addressing. There is no one that's not addressing these kinds of issues, some way, shape, or form. And this is why I say and I'll answer your question, Carrie, because I love that question. But why I say we're getting into alignment with our soul's most benevolent, best, our highest agenda. Because the truth of the highest agenda is that we're meant to be living deeply fulfilling, deeply rewarding life experiences in all of our relationships, in all areas of our life. So our relationship to ourself, our source, one another, our relationship to money and wealth, our relationship to our career or our vocation and how we serve in the world, what contribution we make, our relationship to our emotional health, our mental health, our physical health, which is, our bodies, our minds, our souls, like all of that stuff. And even the way we interact in the everyday world, whether it's with media and the lies and the propaganda, or whether it's with the media we love, like our favorite movies, like that's all part of our highest fulfillment. The movies we choose, are we really choosing things that are truly for our highest and best? Is war and violence on TV really for our highest and best? Is it helpful to us to engage with those things? Is it really adding to our deepest fulfillment, our happiness, our joy, our health? Is it really serving us? So to me, when we're talking about living in accordance with our soul's true divine agenda, these are all the things we're evaluating. What is truly serving me, meaning each of us as individuals, in the most benevolent, best ways? Is it really serving me to, be eating that ice cream every night? Or is it really serving me? Like sometimes it is, maybe it is. There's no judgment. It's for each of us to decide individually. All right, but I do want to address, so does that make sense to everybody? I want to address Carrie's question because it's such a good one. What's the difference between higher self, soul, spirit? Okay. So, different people might have different definitions. This is how it's been taught to me, and this is how I define it. Your soul self is the part of you, your soul identity has traversed many incarnations, lifetimes, many lifetimes. And we could identify this scientifically in physics as you have lived and you continue to live in parallel realities, right? That is scientifically valid with physics. But in spirituality, we would just call it like your past lifetimes or the versions of you that are progressing in a linear experience through time and space. But that soul thread of you, that soul is eternal. So you as a soul exist in those other realities, and you're connected to those versions of you, and we could call them past lifetimes or parallel lifetimes. That's the soul. And the soul has an agenda. This is very, very important to understand. The soul's agenda is to resolve certain issues that we could call karma, but they're not necessarily. It's just more like issues that the soul wants to resolve. And if they're karma, it could also be called dharma too. They're not the same thing. If they're karmic related, they're things that we've been challenged on that will help us grow and evolve. They're not punishments. They're things that we maybe as a soul didn't resolve in a way that was to our liking, or perhaps that we wanted to address in a new or different or what we perceive to be better way. So that's soul. And if we're talking dharma, by the way, that's something we're meant to bring forward. And that can be related to soul's agenda too. Like my soul's agenda is to be teaching and sharing and healing and serving God, source, creator, and what I call the light, which most people don't really understand what that is, even if they think they do. We can talk about that too, but I get it. That is my part of my soul's agenda, but it's linked to my dharma. It's not necessarily what I was always doing. It wasn't what I was doing out of college when I was working at corporate America as a good, what I call a good slave, right? The hamster wheel of life. That was karmic for me. So resolving issues and then bringing forward more of the light that we are, that's all part of soul's agenda. So when we talk about the higher self is the aspect of you, and it's always just a little more progressed than where you are. I do like this because it's sort of like in the non-physical, but it's you. It is you. It's just got another vantage point and another perspective. I say it because to me, higher self transcends gender. It's beyond what we call sixth dimension. So it's beyond gender. You're unified. You have masculine, you have feminine. You have both. It's not limited to the body, that the body has a particular gender. It's the energy of feminine and masculine working together in a unified way, which you have both of those within you. and even beyond your physical form, and that your higher self is beyond that limitation of gender. And so encompasses both masculine and feminine energy and consciousness, and has greater perspective, broader perspective, and also knows itself as feminine and masculine and God source creator. That's the kind of part of what the triad is, but not all of it. So that higher self can guide you and lead you and say this way, not that way, or this will give you that outcome if you choose it. This will give you that outcome if you choose it. Or if you choose this path, that's what that might look like. If you choose this, because you, the personality self, is both incorporating that soul and the soul's journey and recognizing, there's things I need to heal and resolve. There's problems, challenges, and upsets, obstacles and hurdles and blocks and all that stuff. That's like part of that. And then there's you, the personality stuff's like, I want to do this. I want to do that. I want to create this. I want to have that. I want to experience this. I want to experience that. That's all soul. And the higher self is like, okay, well, if you want that, this might be a right way. If you want that, this might be a right way, right? So that's your higher self, right? Okay. And then when we talk about spirit, okay, spirit, a lot of people define differently. Spirit, some people refer to spirit as God, and that's fine. That's a way that people might use that word to refer to spirit. To me, we're all spirits. And, there's a spirit of a tree, there's the spirit of an animal, we're all spirits. And, there's collective of spirits, and there's beings who have crossed over who are spirits. So that's how I define spirit. Spirit is sort of like the essence of a being that is an eternal being in its wholeness. And so God, source creator, could be a spirit. It is the one true source that all spirits are part of. So, spirit is one of those words that people can define differently. And I don't think there's a particular right or wrong way, but to me, we're all spirits. And we're spirits in bodies in this physical earthly plane. And then there's spirits who don't have bodies. And they might not, to me, an ascended master is a spirit, but they're defined as an ascended master because they've achieved a level of mastery that allows them to have their identity as an individuated being. So they're recognized as an ascended master, but they're still a spirit from my perspective. So that's what I'm sharing. That's how I define it. And of course, you can define those things your way, but that's how it's been taught to me. So anyway, does that all make sense? So
Yep,
Carrie said, so when
absolutely.
I say source God, is that spirit? Again, to me, I use a lot of words to say God because people have different takes on what that is, and different people have different perspectives on this. But so I'll just use a lot of words. Like I'll say God, source, creator, the divine, even though to me, creator is the aspect of God that fractaled off from God. God is all that is. God is the infinite. God is the omnipresent, omniscient, the source of all that is. Now, if you're a scientist, you might call it the quantum field, and that's okay. So, because we all have different, and if you're organized religion, you might call Jesus God. To me, Jesus is an ascended master that is indeed, just like we all are, sons and daughters of God. We're aspects of God, that one source. But to a religious person, they might see Jesus as God. That's okay. Their belief system, as long as it's working for them, that's fine, right? I'm not here to tell someone what's right for them. I'm just here to share what my understanding is. So I hope that helps. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Good, good, good. And so, like the Vivian was talking about her divorce after 40 years kind of thing and what she needs to do. So a lot of us have um wounds, etc., traumas that we're healing and working on, right? And some of these are our own inner blocks for sure, right? So how can we transform those inner roadblocks that have been keeping us back or may still be holding us back, limiting us right now from creating
Yeah.
or living our fullest, highest potential?
Yes, this is like such a good question. Really like so important because those are all the things we're struggling with, right? And I just want to say, like, I totally get it because, you know, a lot of times what people in the whole love and light movement don't always talk about is the fact that we all have some kind of struggle or challenge that we either are working on now or that we've had to overcome. And there's nobody alive in the physical body, as far as I'm concerned, who hasn't had to deal with some kind of emotional or mental or physical, you know, hurdles, obstacles, challenges of some kind or another. So the challenges that you're facing, whatever they are, and they usually fall into, you know, the categories we just talked about. They're either going to be physical health, you know, or emotional health, mental health, relationship health. And relationship, again, just for redefining, relationship is to your body, to your God, to one another, other people, whoever those people are, or even to your external reality. Like maybe you really are angry about things in the external world. Like I tell a story about how I had to forgive TSA for years. I had to work on that, right? So I had to forgive all the false authorities in the world that I felt like were trying to take my power away, right? That was just my own issue. Okay. So those are like some of the major themes. And then money, I think I said money and wealth, right? Those are themes. Another one is your relationship to yourself. How well do you love and accept and honor yourself? And how well do you care for yourself? And do you know how to do that? Do you know how to take responsibility? I mean, this is something people don't like to hear all the time, but 100% responsibility for yourself. That doesn't mean you can't, that doesn't mean you can't go to other people for help. Of course, that's what we're all here for, to help one another. You know, we need to get coaches and mentors. In fact, if someone doesn't have a coach or a mentor, like that person is going to have problems. Like you have to have a coach or a mentor or a healer or a guide to work with. You, as far as I'm concerned, the people in the worst shape on the planet are ones who don't have someone there to support them who is outside of their regular everyday network. It's so important. And I'll talk a little bit more about that. But how do we overcome those things is we work with someone. We have to really build our support system. And we have to learn how to do the internal work. So this is what I mean. We take 100% responsibility for ourselves and our lives, and we make conscious choice that we're going to work on those things that are challenging us, that are our obstacles and hurdles and blocks, etc., knowing that that is a part of life. And that anyone who's not acknowledging that that is part of their life is playing a false game and not being honest, quite frankly. And they don't have to publicly announce it. I'm not saying they have to do that, but what I'm saying is just accept that's part of this life. That is part of this life, that we have inner work to do on issues that are challenging to us, that cause us pain and upset, and add to trauma in our lives and are from trauma that we've experienced, whether it's being rejected, neglected, ignored, unheard, unacknowledged, you know, physically, emotionally abused or abandoned, whatever it is, those issues need healing and resolving. And we cannot do that alone on our own. So the reason we take 100% responsibility is we say, I am going to take responsibility for these wounds, these challenges, these upsets, these hurdles, these blocks. I know if it's blocks, I can't see it all. And if it's wounding, I need someone to help me, because from the place of the wound, you can't resolve it on your own. And so that's why you hire a third party person who doesn't, who's there for you, who can help you navigate that. And hopefully they're an energy worker because they can move the energy for you. I'll talk about that more too. And they can help you see through that. And so you don't bring it to your family, and you don't have family dramas, and you don't bring it to your best friends, and you don't have relationship dramas, and you don't bring it to your office or your work or your career. So you don't have work career upset dramas, and you don't, you know, leak it in inappropriate ways with inappropriate people or in inappropriate places, right? So you get yourself the support you need to work through those issues. And this is why I'm saying, and I will tell you some of the ways you can find it for yourself, your soul's agenda, because there's some ways you can find a lot of this easily. But The difference with just regular counseling, you know, you got to pick what's right for you. But the difference is that if you're working with someone who does energy work, who's really gifted and talented, which I consider myself to be one of those people, there is a huge difference between going to like a therapist or a counselor. And I'm not poo-pooing on that. I'm just saying you got to pick what's right for you. They're just going to talk you through things. So that means you're working through it on the mental plane. You're going to somehow be given conversation therapy, even if it's like go home and write about this or journal about this, even if they're giving you direction to go be in nature, which is always a good direction, whatever it is, there's going to be talk therapy. It's happening mostly on the mental plane. But if you're working with an energy worker, especially someone who's truly gifted, who's done really deep dive work, then they're going to go beyond the mental plane. And that's what most people don't really understand in the physical world. They're still addressing most things on the mental plane. So the difference of doing energy work is that whereas on the mental plane, you're like thinking about something, then you're thinking about some kind of solution, you're thinking about it, and then maybe you make a mindset shift and you're like, oh, that's better. I got a new perspective. Oh, I've got an aha. But you're still thinking about that thing. Now you're just thinking about it differently. With really effective energy work, it is expunged from your system because you just don't need it at all. And anything that's left is what you need that truly serves you. So I'll give you a perfect example, a great example. Anyone on the call ever felt lonely? Can I get a yes on the chat? Anyone ever felt lonely? Isolated? Yeah, thank you, Vivian. Thank you, Marianne. Susan, yes, me too. I have. I spent a good chunk of my life. Cindy, yes, I felt so lonely for so long. And so the way I handled it was I would create retreats and I fell in love with all my community members. I still do. I love that. I mean, it's part of my dharma. It's part of my service. I would create communities. I would do live events and I would feel fulfilled in those. I loved those. And I also love my own time because lonely is not alone. They're two different things. So I knew it wasn't that I didn't love my own company, but when I wasn't absolutely loving my own company and I wasn't with all those people I loved, there was another time, something in there energetically where it would occur to me that I felt lonely. And I couldn't understand why, because I'd be like, I love my own time. I love myself. I love my energy. And I love being with other people. And I don't need to be with them all the time. Why do I feel this loneliness? What is up? Well, I did all this work for years on past lives. I know a lot of my past lives. Most of my past lives, I was either, you know, like a nun, some kind of monk. I was a Scrooge in one lifetime. I've been like a lot of isolated. I was isolated from a tribe as a medicine woman. I was like a young in a Native American tribe, like I challenged the elders, some of the medicines they were using. And so they cast me off for not, for challenging the elders. And so, but as a punishment, I was not allowed to be part of the tribe, but they loved me. This was that they loved me. So they put me following behind the tribe. And in that lifetime, I learned how to work with plants. I learned how to be a shaman. I learned how to communicate with animals because I had no friends. I had nobody else, right? And I've reclaimed those gifts from that lifetime. We could talk about that too. But regardless, it carried into this lifetime because I had a lot of lifetimes of isolation and alone. I had a lifetime as like a traveling with all the circuses, and I would train the animals and I would hang out with the gypsies, and I learned tarot cards and I learned palm reading and I learned like all of these kinds of things in these other life. I learned astrology, but I was alone. I was always alone, even though they were like my friends. I was traveling alone. So anyway, this lifetime, I learned how to heal loneliness. I expunged the energy from my system. I never feel lonely anymore. Never feel lonely anymore. People don't realize that's energy. So the point of the story is energy workers who are able to do deep dives. I'm not talking about surface level energy workers. They're great too. Those are the kind of workers who will help you relax, Reiki, relieve stress, relieve anxiety. Those are important too. They just do something different. They can't expunge loneliness for you, or some kind of energy, lack. Who in your life, in this lifetime, has experienced lack? We all have. Not enough money, not enough time, not enough love, not enough peace, not enough friends, not enough, right? Not enough food. Okay, that's all lack. Lack is energy. The energy of lack can be expunged. I mean, I've been perfecting this. I wouldn't even say I'm perfecting. I've perfected. I'm working on this and I'm still working on it to really perfect it. But it's taken me 20 years. So all of this is a long story to go back to the original question of how do we work with that? We need to get someone to help us, to be there for us, so that we don't, dump it in inappropriate places and then people think we have diarrhea of the mouth, because our traumas need to be addressed appropriately with someone who is third party, who won't get triggered by us because they know they're there to help us and because they're heart-centered and they care. And if we really want to do the deep work, it's a good choice, or at least to know that that's available to you, because most energy workers, people don't really understand how energy works and what it can do and how it can expunge something from your system that simply is no longer serving you. So that is the short story, the long story of a very short question. What do we do? You got to get yourself support. You can't white knuckle it and think you can do it on your own. That is the long road to pain and suffering. And I just want to say the difference, and then I'll talk about how you can start knowing more of what your soul's agenda is. But the difference between, I want to just say there's a big, huge difference between a coach or a mentor who shows up with a smile on their face and answers questions for you, versus a coach or a mentor who does deep dives with you, who really goes deep with you and gets into, the depth of the issues that you have and is willing to work with you and offer you not only solutions, but insights that you wouldn't otherwise find on your own. And B asks, what about just going to God and asking for guidance so one can heal themselves? Okay, God can heal everything, but the problem with that question, or the problem with that as a solution, is that, first of all, how's that worked for you so far? I'm not saying that it doesn't work. I'm saying alone it's not enough, and here's why. Because you're vibrating, your energy and vibration, it's vibrating here, something like this. Now, it might be vibrating here, it might be vibrating here, nervous anxiety, it might be vibrating here, it might be vibrating here, it might be vibrating here. But you know where God's vibrating? Way up here in absolute purity, like absolute purity. So in order for you to get the real healing that you need, you can pray and God might send you a healer to help you. And if you're saying, well, what about just doing it myself? God's like, well, I sent you, that story about the person who's at the that famous story, right? The water levels rising. So the person gets up to the roof of their house and they're praying to God. And first someone comes by with a rowboat and they say, oh, no, thanks. I prayed to God. God's going to come send me the solution. And then they keep praying and the water levels rising. And then the next thing, a helicopter comes and drops them down a net. And they no, I'm waiting for God. God will send me a solution. And then the third one is like, I think of whatever it is, the three, but the third one, he says, no, I'm waiting for God. God will send me a solution. And then the person drowns and the person gets to heaven, or so-called, whatever heaven is, a perceived idea of what heaven is. And then they say, why did you let me drown? And God says, I send you the raft. I send you the boat. I send you the helicopter. I send you the net, and you didn't take them. So that's the issue. with that is you're living in a reality where we are meant to learn interdependence. We are meant to learn it. That's why the first comment that I think it was Marianne who left, if I remember, who said, learning self-trust. It's so true. You do have to trust yourself, but you also have to learn. We're all learning that. We have to learn how to trust one another and how to be able to support and assist one another. We're here learning interdependence. So independence and interdependence work together. You're independent and you can depend on others. So you have to learn discernment to navigate who really will help you and serve you in the best ways. And you can know if God, like I've gone to yoga class before a gazillion times. I'm serious. This has happened. And even prayer circle, right? And I would hear the person, like they'd say they were praying for something, and I'd know, like I got their solution. Like I would know it because I'm a healer, I'm psychic, and I'm a really gifted psychic, and I could give it to them, and I'd know it, and I'd be like, could I offer you something? And they'd be, oh no, I don't want to talk about it. Well, they just put up a wall. Okay, I'm gonna honor your no. I honor your no. But if you say no, then what's the point of praying anyway? And I don't mean to be facetious because God does heal everything. The reason you can't heal yourself is because you're trapped in that vibration of where you're at. And you need someone who's not in that vibration to help you elevate out of it. Now, can you get out of it? Is it possible? Yeah, of course. But what will it take? Because if you had what it took, chances are you would have already done it and you would have already achieved it. Does it mean that you have to sit in vibration meditation for months on end or 3 days without? I don't know what it might take any individual, but whatever it is, chances are they would have done it if that's all it took. So I hope that answers your question. Isn't all a teacher and helper? All the people, animals, stones, plants. Yeah, they're all teachers. They're all helpers. Those are great questions. But what I really want to hear from you, B, rather than those questions, is what are you struggling on and what are you working on? And how long have you worked on it by yourself? I really, really want to hear you say that, because if it's working for you to do it on your own, look, here's another example. This has been a game changer in my life. I am an entrepreneur, right? A solopreneur. I've been a solopreneur doing this kind of work for over 20 years. I'm not a newbie here in terms of spiritual healing and energy work. Over 20 years. And I have been walking my talk because I really do the inner work. I'm not just like a lot of people out there are what I call spiritual capitalists, right? They're in it, but they're just in it for the business. They're not really doing the inner work. They might have found a tool like astrology or numerology, and I'm not poo-pooing on them. I'm just saying I have had to do the deep inner work because I was in a lot of pain and trauma in this life, emotional pain that I'm not in anymore. But in any case, I hired myself in the last year and a half, a business and leadership mentorship coach. And I can't tell you, every day I think I wish I had done it 20 years ago, because that business and mentorship, and she's only like 3D, you get it? She's not like, she doesn't really get any of the energy work. I mean, she gets it, but she's like, for the most part, she's a very 3D person. But I love her because the marketing and the business that I've learned from her that I did not get on my own. 20 years plus of running a business on my own. 20 years plus. No way. I can't even believe I waited 20 years. It was the best investment I have ever made. And let me tell you, it was the price of a small house. It was the down payment of a house. Was not, because marketing coaches they're not like in the woo-woo world. They're not like $100 an hour or whatever people charge. No, because they understand the value of what they're offering. Whereas in the spiritual community, we've had issues like that. We tend to undervalue and over deliver, which that's always been me. So that's been shifting for me. But This is why I say it's not so good to work on your own, because you miss your blind spots. And anyone who's ever worked with me, I mean, I think Sue might still be here. I don't know. She's not. Anyway, anyone who's ever worked with me, you would know it takes me 5 minutes to get you deeper and to get to more depth than sometimes a whole hour with a counselor or someone could, because that's why it accelerates your healing process. It accelerates the resolution that you came here to resolve, and the transformation is 10x. But I hope that makes sense. And I do think it's really important to be open and learn from others. I'm not saying, we are meant to learn from one another. Like, I'm not saying there's a wrongness. I'm saying just make a choice to get yourself the support that you need, especially when you're carrying trauma. And we all have trauma to work through. So, okay. But let me just say, the other part I was going to say was how you can know your soul's agenda. Part of how you can know it. And we can't do directly everybody's, but you're always going to know your soul's agenda based on, number one, the things that are most challenging to you. If you can sort of step back in your life and start to notice the repeating patterns. Now, that's hard for people. I've gotten really good at noticing patterns. It's one of the gifts I have. But if you can start to notice the patterns that repeat over and over again in your life, that are your challenges, we talked about the major areas, you'll start to see, this is a recurring theme. Whether it's money issues, relationship issues, health issues, vocation, career issues, those and there'll be I'm giving you big picture, but within there'll be issues related to, self-worth, self-value. We talked about some of that. Abandonment, betrayal. Those are the things that are the shadow. We call those shadow aspects. Things that are really challenging to you. And typically those are the things that you feel bad about, that you don't really want people to know. You wouldn't really even say it. You definitely wouldn't want your worst enemy to know, because they could use it against you, right? There's some kind of fear or worry or anxiety. They might be a repeating frustration. Those are the things the soul's agenda wants to resolve. And then the things that are most exciting to you, most fulfilling and rewarding, and feel like the biggest stretch for you, like that you wouldn't even dare to dream, that's part of the soul's agenda too. That's the karma dharma relationship. So what dreams do you guys have? Put in that in the chat. And then I can address what Sarah wrote. I haven't read it yet, but put in the chat in the side, what are your greatest dreams, hopes, desires, the things that you would love, like unabandoned, that to experience if you could, that maybe you don't even want to admit to yourself. Clear connection with higher self. I mean, I want to tell you, Carrie, how long have you been working on that? Can you tell me how long have you been working on that? Because that is my forte. That is the thing. I'm just curious how long you've been working on that. But while you're answering, Carrie, I want to go to Sarah. Said I was in a very complicated relationship when young, somewhat abusive. I took some magic mushrooms and the whole tangle was clear to me. I got out. Okay, good. So with 50 years of reflection, it's clear that I was right. It was right that you were right to get out. That's awesome. That's great. That likely has, though, because you said it was a very complicated, somewhat abusive relationship. I'm curious, Sarah, since you got out of that relationship, and thank God those mushrooms helped you to make an important decision to get out, it's likely, if you're being honest with yourself, that you've had to heal and resolve a lot of the traumas in the aftermath of that. If it was abusive, that's what it sounds like. And the traumas of how we get into abusive relationships is usually part of a soul's agenda, because we only get into abusive relationships if we believe we're unworthy on some level. undeserving, unlovable. And usually if you were very young, it's very likely that that was from another lifetime and part of your soul's agenda to resolve those issues, right? And I'm not saying the magic mushrooms didn't help you, if that helped you, but chances are you still had more work to do even on the aftermath of getting out of it in some way, shape, or form, right? Okay, so we're going to greatest dreams, but thank you for sharing that, Sarah. Yeah, I'm glad that you got out of that. I'm so glad that you got out of that. So Marianne said being a healer and making a difference in the world. That's so awesome, Marianne. The world needs you. There's 8 billion people on this planet. Not to mention, we don't even know how many animals, and they all need help. Like, this community is very progressive, right? We're on the cutting edge of, like, the healing arts and the intuition and, 5D and beyond and ascension and all of these very progressive conversations that the vast majority of humans and animals are not particularly tapped into while they're watching, Chronic Negativity Network and believing that's true and being brainwashed by big pharma commercials, etc. They don't know that their brainwaves are being affected. They don't know that they're being told lies and propaganda. In this community, we're much more progressive. So those 8 billion people and countless animals, they need your help. And your greatest dream to be a healer and make a difference in the world, that is so beautiful. I want to hear, what do you think is holding you back or blocking you or stopping you from that, Marianne? Because that's so beautiful. That is part of your dharma that wants to come through. So please let me know. I would like to hear, what do you think is blocking you or stopping you? Okay, Vivian said, my greatest dream is to help children feel more comfortable on the planet Earth with less trauma and drama, staying connected. That is so beautiful, staying connected. So it's like, that is like, do you know how many children, I hear about this when I'm like in a coffee house or if I'm like having lunch and I heard this just the other day, this young woman, beautiful young woman talking to somebody, I didn't know them, the table next to me, and she worked in a school. You could tell she worked in a schooling system as some kind of teacher or advisor or something. And she was talking about the kids in the school and how traumatized they were and how they feel depressed. And the young kids, it was an elementary school. It's heartbreaking, right? Your dream to help children is so important, Vivian. And what is blocking you or stopping you, do you think? Or, maybe you're already doing it, but we're talking about our greatest dream. So I'm sort of assuming that you're not doing it yet. What do you think is in the way for you? What do you think might be blocking you or stopping you or interfering? Because that's the stuff we can clear. That's the stuff we can clear, heal, and resolve. And plus, when we're working with energy, we can what we call download, which in this community, I know you guys know what a download is, but most people don't know what a download is, right? But a download, at least the way I work with it, is like we're accessing consciousness, which is divine, or it might be from part of our own higher self or our team or the infinite or the quantum field. It might even be from our Akashic records. It's a field of consciousness that has the solutions for you, or we might be awakening it from our dormant DNA, which always has the solutions for you. So when you're getting a download or an activation or a transmission, you're awakening something that is dormant within you, that has the gifts, the talents, the abilities, the solutions, the answers, or else you're getting a gift from God energetically. And this is why I say also earlier to B's question, because if you're at a frequency where you can't access that directly, to work with someone else who can access it because they're not trapped in that frequency. I call these, by the way, for those of you who know me well or have worked with me, we call these frequency fences, because you get trapped in your own bandwidth of the energy where you are. And in order to get, like, for example, a download or a clearing or a healing, you need to be able to access energy that's beyond those frequency fences. Right? That's why we work with someone who's not trapped in there, right? And there's no wrongness about that, by the way. All right. Linda said, I dream of a healing crystal pyramid center with 3 med beds. That's so awesome. I love that. And knowing my higher self to be able to to hear it. Yes. So are you working on that, Linda? Are you putting that into play? Where are you with that, with regard to that? If not, are you, what do you think is blocking you and or stopping you? I'm going to scroll down. I want to hear from you guys. I know Marianne put it in there. So let me see what else. Carrie said, strengthening connection to guidance. Oh, you've been working on it for 2.5 years. Okay. Have you been working with someone, Carrie? You're giving me the answer to an earlier question. Are you working with someone? What are you doing to make that happen for yourself? What actions or energy or what actions might you be taking? Okay. And then Marianne's also working on connecting, right? You said that you put in there. Okay. So Anita said opening up a holistic shop. That's awesome. So Anita, are you working on that? What are you doing? What actions are you putting in place, or what is blocking you? Because we can work on the blocks, but these are the things we have to get. If we're living our soul's highest fulfillment and our highest agenda, we are both working on the things that are blocking us. We're not carpet sweeping them. We're not pretending they're not there. We're not trying to be all love and light. Everything's perfect. Everything's wonderful. Because that's carpet sweeping. That's denial. And that is spiritual bypassing. And personally, I'm not into that. That does not work. That does not work. Right. And at the same time, if we're working on our highest fulfillment, we're taking right and appropriate action, not just in the physical world, but energetically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, all levels and layers, all planes of existence, to our ability to move in the direction that puts us in accordance with our hopes, wishes, dreams, desires, because that's part of our soul's agenda. And yes, we're working with our own higher self, our team, and yes, God. Yes, prayer. Prayer does work. I would never negate prayer, because I know B asked about that earlier. So we're doing all those things to start bringing it into motion. And then we're working with some kind of coach or mentor or guide who can help us, along that road, that path, right? So Carrie said she's working with mentors. That's awesome. How's that working for you? Is that working for you, Carrie? Linda said manifesting the currency to make sure the funds are available to go forward right now, or just dreaming about it. Okay. So Linda, are you saying you're manifesting the currency to make sure the funds are available right now, or are you just dreaming about it, or is it both? Right now, just dreaming about it. Okay. I will tell you that just dreaming about it and manifesting the funds does not really work very well, but maybe your experience is different. Maybe how long have you been working on in that way? It's not that I don't believe in manifesting. I absolutely do. I teach manifesting. I teach the fastest and easiest way to manifest. It's in my Sacred Visionary. But I also know that if we're sort of just dreaming about it, and I don't think dreaming about something's wrong or bad either, but how long do you want to do that before you're ready to take an appropriate action? That's my question for you. And it's no way is wrong. I'm not making you wrong. I just am asking you to level up to your greatest potential, your highest, most magnificent self, because you have something amazing to offer, Marianne. You have something amazing that the world needs, right? Okay. Tanya's going to start a YouTube channel. Okay. Awesome. What actions are you taking, Tanya? And what action and outcome do you want for that YouTube channel to have? What effect do you want it to have? How do you want it to serve? Or what is the reason behind it? And what actions are you taking, or what might be blocking you or stopping you or standing in your way? And that's okay. Again, no wrongness. So you're working on it slowly but surely. Awesome. What actions are you taking, Anita, and what might be blocking you or stopping you that you might need to clear, heal, or resolve? Tanya says, helping people to be happy no matter what. That's awesome. I love that. So that's great, right? You could call it the happiness channel or whatever feels right for you. Love that. Linda says, a good 2 years, but I have seen it in my dreams. So you're working on manifesting the currency and the funds to make something available for 2 years. Is that all right with you? Does that feel all right for you? Because I know for me, I'd be like in impatience heaven, like hell. I'd be in impatience hell. But that's something I've had to work on, right? So divine timing is real. And if it feels like it's divinely timed for you, then awesome. And at the same time, if you feel like you're sort of just on the waiting game, the way the universe responds to the waiting game is it gives you more wait time. That's one thing I have learned through working through this, because the masculine energy that we're meant to utilize in appropriate way, masculine energy is the force within us that allows us to take action and to do things, to take right and appropriate actions. The feminine energy is the allowance of it. Okay. Divine timing. Right. Linda said, no, but before May, I have not been free even to begin, but am freer now. Okay. Well, what is it that's not letting you be free? What's not allowing you to be free? And Tanya said, you're using EFT. Okay, that's a good tool. That works. I will say that EFT is still kind of like, it is vibration, but it's not beyond the vibration of the earthly plane. In a sense. I mean, I get it, all vibration is ultimately connected. So it's just that it's like a vibration away from where you're at now. It helps. It's good. But it depends on, so this is the thing. You kind of have to decide for yourself. It's always up to you to decide for yourself what feels right and good. And, we want to be mindful, because the challenge in the love and light community, which we're kind of part of that here, is that we tend to be a little more passive. We tend to do things like, I'm waiting on God, I'm waiting on the will of God, I'm waiting on my angels, I'm waiting for some guidance. And really, since everything is a mirror and everything's a vibrational reflection, the energy of waiting just gives more of the energy of waiting. Guides are like, okay, well, she's waiting for some guidance, so she's waiting. So I'll let her wait because she's saying she's waiting. But we don't realize that that's the effect of it. We don't realize that that's the cause-effect relationship. So it is true. You have to decide what's right for you. And at the same time, you have to kind of like, this is part of why we get coaches and mentors, because sometimes they can be like, all right, I want to push you. Because I know, again, in my inner circles with the people I work with in the sacred mentorship, when I'm doing coaching and guidance with people, I'm in there, like, I know my people's, what's going on in their lives. I know what they're struggling with. I know what their challenges are. I know what their hopes, wishes, and dreams and goals are. I know what they've done. I know what they haven't done. I'm in there with them. And when I'm not working with them directly during a live call, in between, I'm like in between our live calls. Yes, of course, I'm available through Facebook. We have our private groups, and I do a lot of like special stuff with them, extra bonuses. And, if I think of something, I might make a recording for them and send it to them. I do a lot of extra bonus stuff, but I'm also always asking my guidance, like, what do I need to give to them? What do I need to tell them? What do I need to offer them? What do I need to share with them? What's meant to come through for them? Is there something that, that God wants to do for them, or that they're, my team is, or my team and their team, like what's coming through? So to me, that's why it's so good, because in a way, I'm like able to push them and nudge them when they need it. And other times they're like, no, where I am is perfect. And I'm like, okay, great. Most of my people are highly ambitious. They're highly ambitious. So they are always kind of wanting to progress. But this is what I mean. You kind of have to gauge, are you just in your comfort zone, hanging out in the comfort zone? Because that is very common for light workers. And comfort zones don't get us anywhere. They really don't. They don't really help us heal and resolve our traumas. And they don't really get us where we want to go. And then we hang out in love and light communities where we're all like, everything's wonderful, but really silently, secretly, it's not. Right. So again, I don't know you guys. It's up to you. I'm just here to be supportive and help us navigate this conversation about living your highest fulfillment and your soul's agenda. Right. Anita says, probably the accumulated stuff I've collected is blocking me. Working on that too. I've had space for my shop already. That's awesome. Good for you. That's wonderful. I think some fear of having a problem with a neighbor. Yeah. I totally get that. I really understand. I could address this whole thing of fear with the neighbor, but what I want to say, it's always accumulated stuff that we've collected, right? The truth is, from a consciousness perspective, you're not just your body. You have multidimensional layers of consciousness around you as a body and within you as a body, that you are so great. The size of the orb that you are as a spirit is the size of a house. Like your light, the light that you are is at least the size of a good sized house. So that light of you, that's like the soul is the spirit traversing, is picking up energy as you move through life. And because our physical world does not acknowledge all those levels and layers of energy, that Krillian photography is starting to recognize that you are more than that, just the physical, and that your energy is far beyond. Aura photography is starting, it does recognize it, but it still doesn't capture the totality of the light that you are, right? So you're traversing time and space and you're picking up energy here, there, and everywhere. And it's a reflection of how you think and who you've been and who you are and how you feel and how you emote and your karmic issues and your dharmic issues and the soul's agenda and the other beings you've interacted with, and like all this stuff on a multidimensional layers of who you are. And that's the stuff, when you accumulate stuff, if it's not part of the dharmic aspect, the light, the brilliance, the magnificence, which is the truth of who we all are, brilliant, magnificent, beautiful, fabulous beings, beings of light, God beings in bodies and beyond. That's the truth of who we are. But all that other accumulated crap, that's what we're meant to heal. And because we live in this world where it's not acknowledged, we don't even realize we're carrying that around. Like this old paradigm, it's normal to be sick. In Florida, I live in Florida, right now anyway. And that's like what everybody talks about. They talk about it all the time, their physical health issues. And they all own it, my sciatica, my diabetes. It's not yours, it's energy. Stop owning that crap. It's not good, but you can't tell them that here, right? So you can't tell them that. So, but here I can say it to you guys, because we're here to free ourselves from that stuff, right? We are,
Absolutely.
right. We're so much. Am I going on a tirade here? Should I be quiet? Am I talking?
Well, I just want to take a few minutes and talk about the
Oh,
package, but also a reminder, I guess I could say. One of the things that I really want to touch on, because a lot of people have asked this question in many different shows, is about our gifts and talents from previous lifetimes, how we can, access them now and start to use them, right? People are always asking that. So I just want to make sure we talk about that when we come back, right? So I'm just going to take a
okay.
minute.
Okay.
Give me 1 second and talk about the package, and then we'll
You
come
give
back
me
and
an
talk about.
audience, I can just go on forever. Thank
And they
you,
love it, so
Brenda.
don't worry about that.
Thank you.
We are definitely getting so much value, and really appreciating all of this
Oh, good.
conversation for sure.
I'm
Okay, I think
glad.
you can see the page now. So sorry, my voice is going. So Lori has this one package, and it's for 147, and of course the payment plan is available, and if you're an Inner Circle member, please use your gift code. Right, so there's a few pieces to this package, Lori, that I think you want to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, the first one is you get a 90-minute coaching, guidance, energy healing session with me, and you will be floored at how much we can get to in almost no time. I had this woman very recently. I'd never worked with her before, never knew her. She came to one of my events and she's like, it's been 20 years. I'm trying to get to the root of whatever the physical health issue was. But she had a lot of physical health issues. And she's like, I don't know what the root of it is. No doctors can find it. They don't know what it is. I found it in less than 5 minutes. I mean, she totally got it. She really got it. That's what we do. And then you get energy healing in there to clear it, right? So that is a group mentorship class. Okay. And yeah, we don't there's no topic off limits. And it's based in the people in my group are highly ambitious, amazing, fabulous, fantastic, brilliant beings who want to make positive impact in the world. We support one another. We encourage one another. And we're also not afraid to say, hey, this is really challenging me. This is what I'm working on. So it's like a very safe, supportive, loving space, but we're also not sitting there being like, we're not victims. We're not in our wounds. We're taking responsibility. We're making change, and we're using the change that we're making inside to also bring that out into our world to live like the magnificent life we're here to live. Item 2 is the sacred energy healing, right? That is where, oh yes, this is a webinar. This is really good. So most people don't realize that all of your fears, the stuff that's called egoic structure, this isn't the only place it's lodged, but for the most part in your physical form, all of your fears, oh, we just moved a lot of energy. All of your fears are stored up in the amygdala of the brain and the hippocampus. And science knows that, but science doesn't realize that you can clear it out. They really don't seem to realize that you can do that. I don't know why they don't, but I guess they just haven't studied it enough. But that stuff can be cleared out of the brain and expunged. Yeah, you don't need that anymore. It's not serving you where you're going. Whether it's anxiety or worry or self-doubt or, some kind of trauma from, whatever, being abandoned, neglected, ignored, all that stuff is not the truth of who we are. We know that in this circle. We know that here in this community. Alara, you've done so much amazing service to so many people by holding this community. Like, you do amazing gifts, and people have come so far in these groups. So we get that, but we just need to take it to the next level here. We're not meant to have that stuff. And when we're free of that, it's like cleaning out your house. You can just redecorate. You're like, you're cleaning out the house of all the cobwebs and all the burdens and all the fear and all the worry, all the self-doubt, the self-sabotage, the old patterns. That stuff can be cleared. So that is what that is. It's a very powerful energy meditation. And we do include our animals and our children in there, so they get the benefits as well. It will help animals as well, the animal companions, if they have anxiety, because, they're just feeling the energy that's around you, right? So as you include them. Okay, good. So item 3 is a very fast and powerful meditation for getting into the sacred neutral. Why is that so important? Because this goes to B's question earlier. And when B asked earlier, well, can't we just heal ourselves? You can. This is one of those tools that will help you. You get into the sacred neutral, where the sacred neutral is where you're free from the distraction of the mental plane. You're free from the emotional traumas and dramas, because you get out of and beyond those energetic states. So you're more able to elevate beyond your frequency fences by getting into that sacred neutral. And then the energy that's not aligned with neutrality starts to be neutralized. Literally, the charges, the triggers, the upsets, the traumas, the dramas. And I did that in a 20-minute meditation so that people would use it. It's very quick and very effective and can be used over and over again. Very, very really enjoyable too. Peaceful, enjoyable. Okay, good. And then item 4, you get a coupon. You can use it for the DNA membership, because you will love the DNA activations. So that coupon code is for $100, right? So you will be able to utilize and apply that. If you want to get the full DNA activations membership, it's all about activating your dormant DNA. Because what we were saying is most of your greatest gifts, talents, and abilities, they're stored for you in your DNA. Yeah, so that's the whole package. It's worth, over $2,200. And you'll get a lot of fun free gifts as well. Learning how to activate your DNA, learning to connect with your Starseed ancestry. There's a full class in there, an ebook. And then there's the ebook on the 4 crystals you have to have. You love how to use them and clean them and work with them, and how to help animals on a global scale. And yeah, the money, wealth, and abundance prayer is in there too. That's an ebook. The how to help animals on a global scale, that course alone, it's like a course, but it's not like, there's an MP3 in there, and I think there's a PDF as well with it. But it's got you'll learn a lot. That in of itself is probably worth even over the price of the whole package. Yeah. Big savings, right?
Absolutely. And like I said before, it's 147 for the package. There's a payment plan available as well. And if you're an Inner Circle member, please do use your gift code. Some wonderful testimonials here as well. And then here's the just a wrap up of it. Okay. So definitely helpful, definitely going to get you moving, definitely going to get you more aligned and centered, and work with the healing energies, because right now we definitely need some support, and this package is going to support you. Okay, so awesome. Thank you, Lori.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about the DNA and your past lives. So we did mention the past lives at the beginning of this conversation. So there's not a person on planet Earth who doesn't have, I mean, okay, maybe there's some people, a very few, who have never incarnated before. I know there are some people who have claimed it. Maybe it's true. I don't know. I know maybe there are some, right? But for the most part, you have been around for an eternity, for the most part, and you have lived many incarnations, not just on Earth, but other planetary bodies, other systems, other universes, galaxies, and other realms beyond this one, because there's lots of other realms beyond just this one. And so the so-called memories of those, their own, to my knowledge at this time, they're stored in two places. And the most important place that's easy for you to access is in your own DNA. Now, this is part of what is in the dormant DNA that science refers to, because science already knows that you have at least 10 more strands of dormant DNA, and that they don't yet really know what it's good for, but that's been already scientifically validated. And the pioneers in DNA, like Bruce Lipton, epigenetics, and, Greg Braden, they're talking about, that. So there's no question on that. The question is what is the dormant DNA good for? And because science hasn't quite been able to figure that out yet, that will be known. But in spiritual circles where we do healing on this, it's very clear that it's what's storing your greatest gifts, talents, and abilities. And most of those gifts, talents, and abilities, including incredible amounts of knowledge, wisdom, consciousness, and energy that will help you bring through the gifts you're meant to bring through in this world. Most of them, not all, but a lot of them, I would say, most of them, you learned it in some other past or parallel reality, right? Past lifetime. And it could be anything, but it's related to what you love doing the most and what you dream about the most. So, for example, Linda, when you say you want to create a wellness center for healers and way showers in some other lifetime, you already had some kind of center. You knew how to run the books. You knew how to, whatever it was. In some other lifetime, you were already a healer. You had already had a team of wellness practitioners. And I'm not saying you haven't done that in this lifetime. I'm just saying you mastered it to some degree or another. Different lifetimes, all the things you need in this lifetime to bring forward what you're here to do. And so, for example, when Marianne, when you were sharing earlier about making a difference in the world and being a healer, you have been a healer. And definitely, I can already see that one light up in a big way. Divine goddess, like goddess energy work, right? With sacred rituals and practices in other lifetimes. And you knew how to do that and mastered it to some degree or another in those other lifetimes. And that's why it's part of the karma, dharma, soul's agenda in this lifetime for that to be revealed to you. So as you learn how to activate and awaken that in your own DNA. And we just did this yesterday in the Lionsgate call. I mean, I had a 3.5 hour call, and we did a whole practice on this. It's amazing. You start to bring forward into your consciousness these gifts that are waiting for you to claim. Now, I just want to say, I've been doing this work for a long time. That's how I started developing my gifts. When I was living in Maui over 20 years ago, we didn't talk about this because you know me in this community and I've been here a lot, but I had a first contact experience, right? And they started activating my dormant DNA, and I didn't understand it back then. So I started working, like I was asking for, after that first contact experience, I kept asking, like, what is all this? What's happening to me? Like, I was really angry and upset for a while. I didn't understand. I didn't know. And I would always just get like, like the voice would come in and be like, you'll know when the time comes. You'll know when the time comes. Anyway, years of working with it, years. And I was still doing years of trauma healing too. Lots of wounding patterns I had to heal, but I was also working with activating and awakening this DNA, and it started just happening organically. It's like, not like anyone taught me. I didn't know how to do it back then. I didn't know what I was doing, but I was doing it for myself. I was working with my animals, and I was noticing how my animals were like jumping 6-foot walls. And I was like, what the, how is that dog getting up there? Like, and then I would do stuff like, with animals that I would meet. Like I met a lot of farm animals in Maui, and I was doing energy and like just asking them, because I was also practicing animal telepathy. Honestly, I didn't ever study or learn animal telepathy. I didn't study or learn how to communicate with animals. I didn't study or learn psychic development. I didn't study or learn how to activate the DNA. This was stuff that was stored in my DNA. So it started coming online. The one thing I did do, but this wasn't until years later, was I took a ton of Akashic Records classes. That definitely helped me too. I teach that as well. And everybody in my sacred mentorship gets that as well. But the point is it's in your DNA. That's the other place that it's stored, is in your records, your Akashic Records, which I know you guys probably know that in this community. So you can access those gifts, those talents, and those abilities. Maybe one lifetime you just learned how to get free from all kinds of fear, and you really aren't carrying a lot of that in this lifetime, or there's just a few pieces you have to clean up. Or maybe some lifetime you learned how to be a fabulous musician, and you're going to add light language into your, like I have some of my students have, it's one of my students, she comes to all my stuff. She was in the shower and just spontaneously light language started coming out of her. I have a lot of my students, that'll happen. Spontaneous light language, because either some other lifetime they mastered song, or they were a goddess who had learned it, and they start activating their DNA. It just starts coming out. This is what happens. Now, I'm not saying you don't have to study or learn or practice or apply. I still practiced animal communication for so many years, until I started really knowing, like, wow, I've got a level of mastery on this now. Like I can teach it. It's a proven system that I can teach another. I can show them how to do it step by step. Same thing now, psychic development. I teach it step-by-step process. Same thing now, connecting with your higher self, getting guidance. I teach it. I teach all that stuff inside of my sacred visionary mentorship, or classes sometimes when I teach a class, but step by step, proven practice. There's no one who can't do this stuff, but most people don't really know how. And whatever gifts you're meant to have, you're meant to receive, that you stored up for yourself, they're in your DNA waiting for you. And they're in the field of consciousness. You can access them, but they're frequency based. This goes back to B's question earlier. They're all frequency based. They're bandwidth based. So we have to become vibrationally compatible to access them. That's the challenge for most humans, because most humans, if we're still carrying the traumas and the dramas, the upsets, those are the things that block us, stop us, and keep us stuck, and they interfere. So that's why we have to do both practices ongoing to, it's part of growth on planet Earth. It's part of spiritual growth and progress. So
One of the other points that a lot of people ask is how can we, we all know about raising our vibration frequency, but how can we raise our vibration frequency and maintain it,
Yeah.
right? So maintain it at a level, um, and then because from that space, where if we have a higher vibration frequency, then we can create differently, we can heal differently, we can solve our problems differently, right? But how do we maintain it?
Yeah. Well, the way you do that is you have to develop an ongoing practice inside of a container. When I say a container, with a teacher, a mentor, a guide whose vibration is more progressed than yours. An ongoing practice. It is not something that is done once. Because when you see, most humans right now, their idea of raising their vibration, and there's nothing wrong with this, I absolutely advocate this. But what they're doing is they're still carrying all the energetic traumas in their multidimensional field, in their amygdalae, in their hippocampus, in their chakra systems. So maybe they get a chakra clearing, but if they don't learn how to keep that energy from entering in, they just call it back in. Or maybe they go do a meditation and they feel better, but if they haven't cleared out the amygdala and the hippocampus, then it's still there. They feel better, but they're not really getting better. Most people, their idea, they go out into nature, that's awesome, they feel better, but it's not doing the deep work. It's not transformational work. And so, or they go out for a retreat, and I love retreats. I hold retreats. I'm an advocate of retreats, but so they feel better for the weekend, but then they leave and they go back to their own life and their old practices. And that's exactly what you're saying. So they keep repeating the pattern. Well, if you want to break out of a pattern and not only raise your vibration, but keep it elevated, you have to get into an ongoing, regular practice inside of some kind of container with people who are exceeding your frequency. Inside of the Sacred Visionary Mentorship, where I work with people, I teach people how to, and I did this in my most recent class on the empathic sensitivities class I just did, and the intuition class. I'm teaching people how to find their true core frequency. Their true core frequency. Once you learn how to find and develop your true core frequency, then you learn the tools to maintain it. But that is not something, I don't think that's being taught. I haven't seen that in the physical world. I learned that stuff because I was in so much pain for so long that I finally realized I'm not going to find this in the physical world. But that's rare. I mean, maybe it's in India, because I never studied with a guru in India. But I had a student yesterday, just talking to a student, and she's not really a student yet, but she's becoming a student. And she was saying, she spent like months in ashrams in India. And when I asked her some of the stuff, like, well, did they teach you this? Did you learn this? And she was like, no, we just learned how to quiet the mind. I was like, really? I don't know. That's I don't even know the ashram, so I'm not judging that. I've never been to an ashram. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think there are brilliant beings on the planet doing brilliant work, but all I know is I have not found these practices outside in the world. But I think that I really know that that's part of my soul's agenda, to bring this stuff forward. And that's always what I've said, is that I bring forward things that are not known in the physical world. And that's why I think a lot of the stuff that I bring forward is so progressive. The challenge I've faced is, how do I communicate this to people in a way that they can understand it? Because it's pretty far out there. But now I'm starting to realize, like, this is what it is that everybody's sort of distracted, doing what they're doing, trying what they're trying. And until they get to the point where they realize they're really ready for the next level, that's when they find me. Because in order to maintain your vibration, you need a next level teacher. Because this reality is not vibrating high. In fact, everything is being done to reduce your vibration right now. Everything.
Mhm.
Like from satellites in the sky and all kinds of technology to, using big pharma to numb you down and using false leaders and authorities to promote fear, and all this stuff, and literally right now trying to engage humans in war. Like literally that is the propaganda. And then the other thing is like, should a man fight a woman? Should a woman fight a man? Are you a man if you're in a woman's body? Are you a woman if you're a man's body? Like that's just drama. And so as long as you're in the drama game and the right and wrong, this is right. I see those arguments on Facebook. I'm like, I wish you peace. I have no further business with you. Delete. Like, I'm not interested in that game because that is not where my frequency is. And that is not what I'm wishing to engage in. But it's okay if someone else does. We're in that land of free will choice. I just know if you want to raise your vibration, you got to get out of all that stuff for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
And I mean, this is why I'll just say one last piece on this, Alara.
Mhm.
This is why so many people want to be around people who lift them up. But in order, I've had that, people come into my circle, they want to be around people who lift them up. If you're going to be around people who you want to be lifted up by, you better make sure you're bringing it too. That means you can't come in being the victim, the blame, the shame. Yesterday, I saw something on Facebook where somebody wrote an email, a post and said, hey, how's the water in Florida after the hurricane? I want to come down there. And then somebody underneath, and I'm not, she really shamed her. She's like, thousands of people have lost their homes and animals. And how dare you ask about the water? Well, that woman was just posing an innocent question. Okay, far be it from me to judge, but she was being shamed. Then I watched a TV show that I was really enjoying yesterday. I don't remember what it was, something on Netflix or whatever. But the woman kept saying, am I a slut? Am I a slut? And I was like, this movie is old, like, but you're slut shaming yourself. Like, this is how humanity thinks. I don't know. To me, that is not how you raise your frequency, being around that. So you have to get yourself into an environment where you can be uplifted, but where you're ready to uplift others. You have to be ready to uplift others too, to be in an environment like that. I know that's the circle I've created and I love it. I love, love, love my community. I love the people in there. I love watching them grow. I love how they're having breakthroughs. I just love like what the changes that they're going through and such good stuff. So yeah, we all want to raise our vibration. I will tell you one other way though, the fastest route to joy, and joy is one of the purest frequencies you can attain in this reality. But most people, their joy is like, they feel joyful for a day and then it's gone, just like you were saying. But the fastest route to joy is through service and contribution. And I mean, just from what you guys, every one of you who put your dreams and goals in here, Linda, Marianne, B, Anita, opening a holistic shop. I mean, every one of you wrote something about Tanya, making people happy. That's service. And that's why we're here. You're so beautiful, right? Like that is what we're here for, because we get it in this circle. The fastest route to joy is through service. That's why, Alara, that's why you do this call.
Yep, absolutely.
So
Yeah.
when you can
And
find your true service and contribution and share it, your joy is going to elevate, right? And the joy you
yeah,
share.
and that's how you become a conscious, deliberate co-creator, is through joy as well. Joy and service, with guidance from your team and spirit, etc. It's a co-creation. You're working with the divine source, etc., to create your life. And that, I agree totally. It like all the good stuff happens through service. So if we can always just stay in our heart, right, and serve in some way, um, that's how we are being of service to source as well.
Yeah. I mean, it's about clearing, healing, and resolving all of the aspects that keep you in separation, which are your traumas and dramas and upsets and wounding. That's what we've been saying. As you clear that away, you make more space for the light to come through you. Your connection with your source amplifies and gets energized, and your guidance team, your team starts growing because they're like, oh, the light is growing. More beings come to you to work with you on your behalf and in behalf of those you serve. And your clear connection gets accelerated and intensified. And then as you're doing more and more service, And the service isn't about self-sabotage or harm to self. The service is for the good of all, including self. So yeah, all of that is working, works symbiotically together as you're taking right and appropriate action.
Yeah, absolutely. Don't forget the action. It's not just about the dreaming and wishing and wanting. It's also about the taking action for sure.
Yeah.
Um, okay, I'm just gonna see if there's anything else that you wanted to share with us today. I'm just making sure we covered most of everything, right?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we can do any last final questions. I do need to wrap like in the next, 5 minutes, so I can't go too deep. But if there's
Yeah.
any final question, if anyone wants to put it in the chat or anything, um, I'm happy to do that. But was this helpful for you guys? I hope it was helpful.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. And I think this has opened up people's awareness and their minds to just and to, to get cracking as well. It's like, yeah, I got to get moving. There's no more waiting. And, the times that we are in, it's so fast paced now that, yeah, sometimes you wait maybe a week or two or three, but not years. So it is about continuously looking at what you're wanting to create and taking that action.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
I will
definitely great.
say to me, the worst thing that can ever happen is that you end up with deathbed regrets.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
like
I
the
agree.
worst thing. Like it's better to fail, to feel like you failed. Way
Yeah,
worse to end up with deathbed regrets. And I will tell you, since this community in general, is I'm making an assumption here, so I'm willing to be wrong, and please forgive me if I am, especially, because I don't know you all, but I'm coming from this perspective of a woman who's not, a spring chicken, not, in her 20s anymore. And so when you get to that, that there's an age group and span in there where you start having your Saturn return and different things start happening, and you're looking at your life and you're like, okay, I really want to make the most, because life is a gift. I really know that life is such a precious gift. In spite of all the hardships here, in spite of all like the struggles and the challenges we go through and the conflicts and all of that, and even the negative stuff happening, this life is a gift. It's such a precious gift. And I see my life as a gift. And I mean, you start getting to a point. Yeah, Linda, Marianne, you just said 63. You get to a point where you're like, I want to use the gift of this life. And even though you do know that you never die, it is true. We never die. It is true. We drop the body, but the consciousness, we continue. And we will have more chances somewhere else. But we don't want to just get on the hamster wheel and repeat, rinse and repeat, Groundhog Day. And that's what happens if you die with deathbed regrets. So deathbed regrets happen because you're not either clearing, healing, and resolving your issues, or you're not taking right and appropriate action to live the life that you came here to live, your soul's highest fulfillment, and be the magnificence that you came here to be. And I mean, we're here for that. So I don't know,
yeah,
just live like you're not going to have any deathbed regrets, you know?
I love that. Yep.
Yeah.
No deathbed regrets. I love that, and that's one of the reasons why I finished my degree. I just graduated and got my degree was because that was the one regret I had. Right. So
Congratulations.
that was my one regret. So it's like,
So
let
happy for you. You can nix
yeah,
that
thank
one.
you.
There is no regret there. Bravo.
Exactly. There is no regret. 75, Carrie. Wow. Life is great until you're
Congratulations.
more surreal. Yeah. And that's the thing. It's like, as we continue to create, as we continue to live our lives, as we continue to serve, as we continue to be in alignment with our highest selves, and fulfill our soul's agenda, we find more and more of our gifts coming online, and we find more and more joy in our everyday life as well.
Yes.
Right? Yeah,
Especially
so
as we're
beautiful.
taking right and appropriate action. Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, this was awesome. There were so many comments in the chat. I'm sure you saw, Lori, that everyone so appreciated this
Oh, good.
conversation. It really resonated with them. They got so much out of it. So it was really, really helpful. So thank you.
Oh,
And
that
of
makes
course,
me
if you'd
so
like,
happy.
exactly, because it's so needed, right? And so people are, if you would like to work with Lori more, of course, please do check out the package that Lori has for us this time around.
Can I just say,
Um,
this is the first time I have ever put in a live event with me into a
that is
pack.
true. Yeah,
That is true.
I agree. And I was going to say, all of the things in the package, like the items 1, 2, and 3, are all brand new. Like they have not been in this package before,
Yeah,
or on the show before. So
that brain illumination practice, that was a live event that I just did in the last couple of months. And it was in and of itself, it was priced. I mean, it's worth, I don't know what the value I put on it was probably 555, because that's what it's worth. It's
yeah,
priceless, but it even costs more than the package when people did that with me live. And it's the energy, it's energy. It's just as effective in replay. So
exactly,
we're working
absolutely.
with source, and you guys know that we're working beyond the limitations of time and space. But yeah.
Absolutely. So do check that out. Again, there is a payment plan available, and of course, if you're an Inner Circle member, use your gift code. So today is Friday. It's the weekend. So everyone have a wonderful weekend. We'll be back next week. But thank you so much, Lori. Like always, it's
Thank
always
you
such a
so much.
pleasure speaking with you, talking with you, having you
Yeah.
on the
Love you,
show. So thank
sister.
you, thank you.
Okay.
And
Farewell
until
for
next
now.
time, everyone, may you continue to be blessed with an abundance of joy, peace, love, happiness, prosperity, and radiant health. Sending you all so much love and blessings. Bye for now. Enjoy your weekend. Bye, everyone.